welcome back. In this video we're going to run a few scripts to clean up the UV maps, and then we're going to go ahead and run a script that will export all these objects out individually at the origin point. So starting off with those scripts that we installed, let's go ahead and open up the Steamroller one. And it's going to bring up this menu, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to just select everything. Now you can select everything like this, or we can go through and maybe better, just to save us a little bit of time, is go through and select every unique thing. So with the bar chair, we don't need to select every one. Now if you're going to do it this way instead of just selecting everything, it's important that you remember which one of these you select. So I'm just going to, anytime it's the same named thing like these chairs, I'm going to select the first one, right? So select the first bar chair, cabinet, ceiling, first one here. These are all unique. First one there. These are all unique. First one here. First one there. Just going to go ahead and what I'm going to do this is, so we're going to flatten the UV. Now what the reason we do this is because the lighting in Unreal Engine is baked onto the UV channel 2. Now what that does is it allows it to pre-bake the lighting and improve performance, so that you're not having to use so much performance up while you are running your game or whatever you're going to do in the engine, right? So once I get all this selected, we're going to steamroll this, and what it's going to do is it's going to flatten those out in the file so that it's one flat image, and so that your lights do not overlap on there. So keep selecting here. So now I've got all this selected, everything I want to flatten. I need to make sure that this is on channel 2. Oh, wrong way. Too far. So channel 2, that's where the lighting is baked onto. So I haven't really ever messed with these different settings here, but it seems to have worked out well for me. So let's go ahead and hit unwrap now. It's going to run through and it's going to unwrap each of the objects that we have selected, right? Alright, so as you can see, it can take a little bit depending on how many objects you have and the complexity of the objects in your model. But now that that's done, we've got it ready. I'm going to actually retain this selection set because these are the exact same objects that I'm going to want to export out. So I'm just going to close out of this. I'm going to open up the UE4 FBX exporter that we've got. Now, as you can see, here's the objects that are selected. We want to move each object to 0, 0, 0. Now, that helps with manipulation inside of Unreal Engine 4, because otherwise your manipulation widget is going to be at 0, 0, but your object might be way off. So if you try to rotate it, it's going to swing way around, and it's going to be quite difficult to manipulate. Now, even this way, it still doesn't quite center it exactly, and I'll show you when we get in there some of the different problems and ways to fix it. So right now, let's go ahead. We didn't include UCX collision shells, and now that's something that I plan on looking into, and there's some documentation on that from the Tom Shannon tools, the TS tools, the website that we downloaded this plugin from, and I encourage you to look into that. What it basically does is you can create objects in your scene here and name them a certain way so that they act as the collision object. Now that'll come into play a little bit later in Unreal Engine, and I'll show you. There's several different ways to create those collision objects, this probably being the more efficient one, but since I haven't really delved into it very far, I'm not going to show it just to avoid some confusion. So I'll show you the primitive way to do it inside of Unreal Engine, and we'll just kind of go from there. So now that I've got these right, I've got this, you're going to want to set this path to wherever you're going to export it from, and you need to make sure that this folder here, the end folder that you're going to, is called export. That's important for when you're importing things into Unreal Engine, and I'll show you that a little bit later. So let's go ahead and hit export selected objects. Now it's going to give us this same exporter menu here that we saw earlier, right? I'm going to go ahead and I want to turn off cameras, turn off lights, and if you've done any animation in here, you might want to keep that ticked, but again, we didn't do any of that, so we're going to make sure that's unchecked too. With geometry, there's a couple of things here. Is we want to make sure that tangents and binomials is checked off. I'm not sure exactly why, but I've looked up online and that said that was important to be ticked off on Unreal Engine's documentation, and I once forgot to, and it really messed things up. So make sure that that's off, and smoothing groups are on, and preserve edge orientation is on. Other than that, we want to make sure that our units again are centimeters. So it should just be a 1 scale factor since we've converted it already to centimeters. And this will make our life a lot easier later. So let's go ahead and hit OK. And it's going to run through all those models. Again, exporting them, moving them to 0, 0, and all that. So this is a little bit quicker process. As you can see, it didn't take quite that long. Now that we've got that done, we're going to go ahead and come back here. I'm going to save it real quick. It's always good to save. And I'm going to come through and I'm actually going to select everything this time so that it's got even these duplicate things. And I'll show you just kind of why it does that in a little bit. So I'm going to change up here from this export mode to copy selected object transformation and names to clipboard. So what it's going to do is it's going to allow me to copy and paste these objects into Unreal Engine. Now, since I went ahead and renamed the windows so that they're all the same name, for example, you see in here, it's got window and it's got the different locations for the different windows. So I only have to import one window object, but it'll duplicate it and create several. It'll create the windows like they have them here in instances instead of having several copies of it. So it'll actually make my file size a lot smaller. And anytime you can make it smaller, it's going to run a lot smoother and you'll have a better performance. So go ahead, hit export selected objects. It's going to take a minute, and what it's going to do is it's going to copy it to my clipboard, so I can either copy it directly into Unreal Engine, or since I don't have that ready, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to where I've got this saved, and I'm going to create a new text document. I'm going to call this exported objects. Going to edit it with Notepad, I'm just going to paste that in there. And so I can come back later to copy this again and paste it into Unreal Engine when I'm ready to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. I'm going to hit save here. And it's getting kind of long, so we're actually going to go ahead and stop the video here. And when we get back, we're going to go ahead and get started in Unreal and importing these in. So thank you for watching.